Okay, listen, Notre Dame. First of all, this is a great football team. This is a team that I think is complete on both sides of the ball. We've talked a lot about them already in the last week or so in different formats and visiting with you guys. So really not a whole lot to add. I mean, they're disciplined, they're physical, they're fast, they're well coached. Again, offensively, they're really complete. I mean, they got an excellent offensive line. They got great skill. They just keep coming up with quarterbacks. It's unbelievable. These guys they got playing quarterback. And, the Kaiser kid has stepped in and done a tremendous job. They hadn't missed a beat. The running back, number 20, he's averaging 8.1 yards a carry. The tight ends are very physical and talented. This is as good an offensive line as we've seen in a long time. So there's just a complete group, and then they do a great job with how they call the plays. I mean, they're do a lot of similar things as we do. They're going to pick their spots with their tempo. There are a lot of speed sweeps, a lot of stretch zone, a lot of counters, a lot of power, a lot of quarterback run, design quarterback run plays, a lot of zone read, a lot of boots, big on the screen game, a lot of max protection, 1 and 2 receiver routes. Take a ton of shots down the field whenever they get man-to-man coverage. They're going to, you got to make competitive plays. So it's a really good group offensively. And then defensively, same thing. They're a lot like us. They're aggressive. They force the issue with the way they play, physical up front, really big and thick guys inside that gobble up people. Backers can run. Number 9's an All-American. He's a great player. They're athletic and fast in the secondary, bunch of juniors and seniors in the secondary. So, again, very similar when you just kind of look at them as to how we play and how we try to play. So this is one of those games that really comes down to, the competitive matchups. I mean, your offensive line versus their defensive line, our receivers versus their DBs versus our receivers. I mean, it's just – who wins the plays consistently. And then, obviously the things that usually make a difference in ball games like this, because games like this, it's usually just a few plays. When I think you have, pretty evenly matched teams, and that's the turnover margin, playing special teams, stupid penalties, just discipline type things. So going to be a fun game. I'm excited to have opportunity to play Notre Dame. Never had a chance to coach against Notre Dame, play against Notre Dame. Incredible respect for their program and who they are. Obviously, everybody knows, who Notre Dame is and the success that they've had. I've never met Brian Kelly, but I have followed him and kept up with him from when he was at Central Michigan and Cincinnati. He's always been one of the best in the business. Has done a great job. That's why he's at Notre Dame, and that's why they're having the success that they're having. So, I do think it's a little unfair that they brought the Pope into town just in time for the Clemson game. I think that's kind of a low blow. But we do have Tim Beret, and Tim Beret is 2-0 lifetime in these games. He's been on the winning bus both ways when he was at Notre Dame in 1977, I guess, here, and then up there in 78, 79. So he was at Clemson at that time. So hopefully, Tim, we're hoping you can trump the Pope, okay? So good luck. And it's also great to have game day here in town. I think that's just great for our program. Obviously, as a competitor, you want to have opportunities to be a part of games like this for sure. I think it's great for our town, for the city of Clemson, for our university, it's so many things. I mean, it's a small town, and to have 100,000+ people come in here and is awesome opportunity. We embrace that. We enjoy that. Obviously, there's some games that bring a little different sideshow with it and pizzazz and vibe, if you will, a little bit more media coverage and so forth. But really, to be honest with you, and people ask me this all the time. The game, and I know some of you media guys, y'all may not like the answer, but it just really is the case. I mean, this is the biggest game of the year, and it's not because of game day here, and it's not because it's Notre Dame. It's because it's the next game, and it's not any bigger than App State. Had we lost App State, we'd all know how big that game was. It's really not any bigger. I mean, this is the best opponent by far that we've played, but the game itself is all in one-game season. That's just the mentality that we have in our program, and when the game's over, we move on to the next one. We don't sit around and cry for 3 days if we lose. We move on to the next one. If we win, we don't sit around and stick our chest out for 3 days. We move on to the next one. That's a mentality that we've put in place. We don't prepare any different. Our Monday practice is the same. Our Tuesday practice is the same. And that's allowed us to build a lot of consistency in our program. So, but having said that, there are things that you have to deal with, that aren't always the case from a week-to-week basis. And so you got to address those things. But I'm fortunate that we have good leadership on our team. We got a bunch of guys that this isn't their first rodeo. They played in a bunch of big games. I think this is my 10th top 10 game since I've been the head coach. And we're 6-3 in those games. So we hadn't won them all, but we've won our fair share of them. And, to win games like this, you got to play well. Just that simple. It's not rocket science. You got to give you guys a chance to play, and you got to prepare and, do the same things that you do each and every week. But I think our guys will do a good job of managing that, kind of understanding that outside stuff, people wanting tickets and all that extra stuff that comes with this game is really a distraction. And so you have to kind of put that stuff to bed and stay focused on what it takes to play well, because ultimately that's what's going to determine the game is who plays well and who doesn't. But should be a fun game. Looking forward to it.
You've dropped in the polls each of the last 2 weeks. Doesn't matter right now, but there's still some conversation about whether or not you're getting the kind of respect that a Clemson team deserves from the national media. How do you address that now?
Well, I mean, nobody's going to give us anything. I mean, it's just that simple. Nobody's going to give us anything. We got to earn it. I mean, the polls are worth – I have to do a poll every week, and it's such a waste of my time. It is the biggest waste of my time. But, I got to do it. I'm a part of participation and all that stuff. But there shouldn't be a poll till October. I mean, those same people who don't believe in us, they're the same people who believed in Auburn and believed in Arizona State and Oregon and, all the other teams that are supposed to be number one in the country. I mean, so what does that mean? It just means that none of that stuff matters. Those same people that believed in them and didn't believe in Utah, now they believe in Utah. We've played 3 games. I mean, hey, we're probably about where we should be, I guess. I mean, we hadn't really done anything. We won 3 games, but all I can tell you is nobody's going to give us anything. We got to go play well, and I can also tell you this, that it really doesn't matter what anybody thinks. If we handle our business, we'll be right where we need to be. We're playing the 5th-ranked team in the country, and if you want to be in the conversation, then you gotta play great in these type of games, and you got to stay on schedule. And when it's over, you keep moving. I mean, Ohio State won the national championship last year, and they lost to an unranked Virginia Tech team at home, and they just kept playing. There's so much football to be played between now and when all of this question should even matter. I mean, who cares what people think about us right now? Let's just go play the games. And when it all shakes out, when we get into November, the picture will be much more clear on who the really good teams are and who the pretenders are. I think Auburn a couple of years ago wasn't even in the preseason top 25, if I remember correctly, and I think they played in the national championship. So it's that's just evidence that none of that stuff matters. Nobody knows anything about these teams right now. It's such a small sample size, but so I don't really get caught up in that. Let's just go play the game, and if we're good enough and we win, then we'll be where we need to be in the end. If we're not, we won't.
You play the us against the world card this week.
Us against the world? No. We're just trying to play them 11 dudes that are going to run out there on the field. That's just the way it is. I mean, we got to tackle. We got to play with great leverage. We got to play with our hands. We got to finish the competitive plays, the one-on-one matchups. Our quarterbacks got to play well. Backs got to break tackles. We got to be sound in the kicking game. That's what's going to win. I mean, nothing else. I mean, all that stuff sounds good and all that, but and our crowd ain't going to win the game. I hope that they're a factor, but they become a factor because we making plays on the field. I mean, we gotta play and have fun with it. But as far as us against the world and all that type of stuff, no, we're just going to go play the game.
You mentioned all the possible distractions of a week like this. What do you tell your guys about sort of weaving their way through these distractions?
Just control what you control. Stay, it's prepare with purpose, effort with technique, all in commitment. Don't get distracted by things that don't have anything to do with the game, because ultimately it's about how we play the game. It's simple as that. And how we play the game depends on how we prepare, how we think, what we let in between our ears. Don't get caught up in what some analyst says or what the media says or what one of their players say. That stuff has nothing to do. It's just all that does is drain you. It's a distraction. Just get dialed in on preparing and, go through your routine that you always do and go have fun playing. And embrace the moment that you have.
In talking to some of your guys yesterday, Dabo, a few of them were already kind of salty and revved up, but Deshaun was his normal laid-back self. Have you ever seen him, whether in football or away from football, riled up and kind of agitated at everything?
Not really. He just kind of, he's a very consistent person in every area of his life, not just football. He's that way in every day. He's just the same. He's got a great perspective on life. He doesn't make it bigger than it is. He has fun playing. He has fun preparing. He has fun going to class every day. And again, I think his perspective allows him to be a very consistent player. And he has been his whole career, incredibly consistent. When he's had bad games, he's bounced back. When he's had great games, he's just continued to keep a level head. And but they're all excited. I mean, again, when you're a competitor, how many people get opportunity to play on the national stage? I mean, I've competed my whole life, and I can't ever remember a game from JV football to middle school basketball to Little League baseball where I didn't step on the field and want to win. I can't ever remember that. Whether there was anybody in the stands or it's the national championship game in the Superdome and it's packed. I have never gone into a match where I didn't want to win and beat the opponent. But having said that, how many people get the opportunity to compete and do something you love doing, but yet everybody's watching? And I just think that's awesome. And so you embrace that and go have fun with it. And so our guys are excited. I mean, they're excited about having that opportunity to, showcase their talents in our program.
Well, while you guys are trying to obviously block out those distractions, can you feel like an extra level of almost buzz on campus and around town looking forward to this kind of matchup?
Sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's just the way it is. I got people calling me that I ain't talked to in 20 years. Hey, man, got some tickets? I really want to come up this weekend. Just need 5. People, I went and had, when was it, last week, maybe Thursday night, we went to the Smoking Pig, and I got a dissertation from the manager at the Smoking Pig about, how supposedly Notre Dame has rented the Smoking Pig. And he was telling me that ain't happening. They hadn't rented the Smoking Pig. And then I said, well, that's great. So I had my pork and my brisket and went on about my business. But, yeah, it's just that people have been talking about this for a long time. So that's just, everybody's human people. That's just the world we live in. Social media and media coverage. And we didn't have this many people at the last press conference. It just is what it is. It comes with it. But, again, you just understand that and you rely on your experience. We've been in a lot of these games. Where we're playing a great opponent, And, we just got to stay focused on what we do. And that's why I think it's important that you are consistent with how you talk to your team, with how you prepare, regardless of who you play. That's just the way it is for us. And again, I think that's allowed us to become one of the most consistent teams in the country over the last, 5-6 years because of that mentality. Again, every week, every Monday when you come in here, this huge screen up here, and I've told you all this, is just there's a big windshield, huge. And it's about, and whoever we're playing next is in the windshield, and you got the little rearview mirror, and it has the last opponent or whatever. Hey, it's always about what's next and what's in front of us. And again, our system doesn't change, and I think that allows our guys to kind of have some stability to where they're not, up or down. We don't meet longer. We don't practice longer. We don't do anything different for any of our opponents. I think that sends the wrong message. And all of a sudden you come in and you say, okay, now we're going to call the good plays this week. All right, now we're gonna practice for 2 hours this week. That's this right here. You just have a plan and you execute your plan each and every week.
Do you like
Talk about
the
being
big stage?
excited to coach against Notre Dame in the back. What is it that's so special about that program?
I mean, they're Notre Dame. Are you kidding me? This is the winningest program in the history of college football. So, I mean, we've played some good ones along the way. I mean, we've played LSU and the Georgias and Oklahomas and Ohio States. I mean, and those are storied programs. And hopefully, how long have they been around?
1887.
All right, 1887. Well, hopefully in 50 years from now, some other old boy will be standing up here at this podium or over there at the new facility, and there'll be a whole new crew of media, and hopefully they'll be, asking that other coach, what's it like to play a storied program like Clemson University? That's what I hope. Hopefully one day somebody will ask that question about Clemson. But it's pretty obvious in this case. I mean, they've won 11 national championships, and they're Notre Dame. I mean, listen, man, I hope they don't bring Joe Montana with them. I can tell you that. I mean, they're just a great program that have had tons of great players and All-Americans and great coaches, and they're a brand of their own.
Do you find that some of your players on this team appreciate and understand the history of Notre Dame, and that others don't quite know it as well?
Probably not. I mean, they don't know who Muhammad Ali is, hardly. So, I mean, I'm serious. They don't have a clue. They really don't. I mean, I think that they obviously know Notre Dame, and if you live in this country, because of their brand and the media and all that, I mean, everybody, of course, hears of Notre Dame. But as far as maybe the history, they probably don't know a whole lot of it. There probably not many of them know Joe Montana played at Notre Dame. Very few know Dwight Clark played at Clemson. So that's just the world we live in with the young people today.
Do you embrace the big stage? You seem natural to it. Do you? This seems to be like your time.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, to me, every week it's the big stage. I mean, we sold out Wofford. It was a sellout for App State. I don't know how you can get a bigger stage than that. I mean, every week to me it's the big stage. I love playing the best of the best. I mean, we're supposed to beat Wofford, and we did. We're supposed to dominate App State, and we did. I love competing at the highest level. Maybe that's a better way to answer that. I mean, I relish that, always have. I love the challenge of that's why I went to Alabama, because I wanted to play at the highest level. I wanted to compete at the highest level, and it's the same thing as a coach. I love being at a place like Clemson that, people care. I mean, and I love where our program is now, that, now it's not about winning anymore. It's about, well, we didn't win by enough. We go have a really difficult win at Louisville, and we got some people not really happy because we didn't win by enough. I love that. I mean, I think that's awesome. I mean, I love being at a program that has high expectations, that's committed, that 85 or 80,000 plus people show up to see us play Wofford. They don't care who we play. They're just passionate about their university and how we play. I love that. But so every week, to me, it's the big stage, every single week. But to have a chance to play, the best team where your margin for error is not very big and neither is theirs, I love that challenge. I think that's why we all ultimately do it. And for us, with our schedule that, Dan Radakovich gives me every year, we don't have a problem with having a chance to compete to be the best, because of who we play. We played Auburn, we played Georgia, we got Notre Dame, we got Texas A&M, we got South Carolina every year, who's been a great program. We've got all of our conference games, and so it's every week is the big stage. And for me, it's all about having a chance to be the best. And I think that we have that opportunity at Clemson, and our program is at a point now where, we just got to continue to move forward. And, I tell people all the time, just have fun, enjoy it. And enjoy the journey that we're on. I don't sit around and worry or fret over whether we're going to win a game or anything like that. I just focus on the things that we control. Sometimes you play well and you don't win. Sometimes you play bad and you win. So you don't get caught up into that. You just keep, pushing forward, and you try to be a consistent performer. And I think we've been able to do that, whether it's playing Wofford or, like I said, this is my 10th top 10 matchup. We're 6-3 in those games. And the 3 we lost, well, we deserve to lose. We didn't do the things we need to do, and the other team did. So I love having opportunities to compete against the best.
It's been a national brand for a long, long time. I'm curious, what was the first time that you said, "Oh, that's Notre Dame football"?
The first time that I said that's Notre Dame football would have been, back when I was a kid in Alabama. And Alabama would play Notre Dame. I still remember Cornelius Bennett just waxing Steve Berline, on the sack, and made a painting of it right there at Legion Field. Coach Holtz, winning the national championship there. I remember that. That's probably I didn't grow up following Notre Dame, but I had a good friend named Keith Young, who I did grow up with, and he was the biggest Notre Dame fan you've ever met in your life. And so I learned a lot about him. I learned to not like Notre Dame because Alabama, was always a great program under Coach Bryant, and Notre Dame was a great program, back in the 70s and all that stuff. So, the Four Horsemen and Newt Rockne, you win one for the Gipper, all that stuff. That's what I grew up, on. But at the exact moment where I said that's Notre Dame, probably just sitting around watching, the 3 channels that we had as a kid, and Notre Dame's on TV. Back then, you didn't get a lot of people on TV, but Notre Dame was on TV. And, most everything else you had to listen to on the radio. Because we didn't have internet, as y'all all know. So that's the difference today, I think, for our young people, is they have access to everything, every day, 24 hours a day. They can watch whoever they want, whenever they want. And back when I was growing up, you didn't have that option. You watched Hee Haw or Lawrence Welk, or one of them, Bonanza, and you stood up there and changed the channel, and that's just what you did. And Notre Dame football was on TV. They just were.
Which stat are you prouder of? The long winning streak against unranked opponents, or the mark against top 10 opponents?
I'm proud of both of those streaks. Again, y'all have heard me say many times, local guys, that my goal is to just consistently be relevant, consistently be in the mix, consistently be a top 15 type program. That's just really my goal. And I've said that for a long time. All the way back to, You know, when I got the job in 9, and I remember in 11, we won 10 games. And I'm like, that's great. Well, let's go do it 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and then we can be a relevant program. We can be one of those teams that maybe people will believe in. But it doesn't do us any good to sit around and worry about that stuff. We just got to put our head down and go to work. And now, you know, years later, you know, we're at that point where I think we've become very consistent. I mean, we need to be a great team at home. Well, we're 41-6 at home. That's very consistent. We need to win. When I got the job, it was like, well, we win these games, but we can't beat a good team. Well, we're 6-3 against the best of the best in those matchups. That's pretty good. We don't win them all, but you know, we can't win on Thursday nights. You know, well, we're 5-1 on Thursday nights now. You go on. Well, we can't. We do beat a top 10 team, but then you lose to an unranked team. You know, well, how many have we won in a row? I have no idea. 30-something, 30 unranked teams in a row. That's consistency, and all that's great. I mean, but you have to have that in order to eventually, maybe people quit asking you those questions. But you know, I'm proud of all of that. But what I'm proud of most is 114 graduates out of 120 seniors. That's what I'm most proud of. That's the stat that matters the most to me. And soon to be 115 when David Beasley graduates in December. So I'm proud of the men that we've produced in the program. And all that stuff is great. And it takes that type of consistency, you know, to build a program, to have a culture that can sustain you. And, you know, this game right here isn't going to win the national championship for us. Our next goal is to win the division. This game doesn't get us any closer to winning the division. This game's the biggest game of the year simply because it is one step closer to being the best. And that's what we're ultimately trying to do around here. It's hard to do. I mean, the last 40 years, Notre Dame's won one national championship. We've won one. It's hard to do. You know, Georgia's won one. We've won one. Everybody's chasing that ultimate, you know, now it's 15-0. It gets harder and harder every year. But, you know, and that's great. But that's why that's not on the board. You know, our goals are set up to allow us to compete to be the best. The things that we do control. There's things out there we don't control. You know, we might go 13-0, and that dang college football board don't put us in there in the playoff. We don't control that. We don't. I'm just saying. So that's why that's not on the board. But the consistency, you know, those are things that I think are a byproduct of really staying focused on what we can control.
Does having game day here, this sort of game, this sort of atmosphere, what does that do for you on the recruiting trail?
It don't do nothing if you don't win. It's just that simple. Last time they were here, we got waxed, and you know, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I don't really know how much that stuff helps. I think just at the end of the day, winning and being, you know, graduating your players, having discipline in your program, you know, hiring good coaches, you know, doing the right things. But you got to win consistently in order to really recruit consistently. That's just the way it is. I mean, it doesn't hurt. I mean, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, these guys, they're not going to sit around and make a decision just because game day came. I mean, game day's fun for the fans, and it's fun to have that national stage. And really, like I said, it's fun for our brand, you know, for people to recognize the Paul. And you know, we got people all over the country now that know Clemson because of the exposure that we've had over the last several years. I mean, that infomercial, we had a 6-minute infomercial narrated by Brent Musburger and Kirk Herbstreit on the buses and the Rock and the Hill and Young Buses. They should still be paying us for that advertisement that they got from that night. 6 minutes. I mean, y'all are in TV. I mean, what's a 30-second commercial in the Super Bowl cost? I mean, 6 minutes. 6 minutes of unedited, You know, and I guarantee you, and President Clement sitting here, but I bet you our enrollment has gone up. We've probably had more applicants, and so all of those things are kind of, I think, come with the exposure for your brand. You know, recruits do want to be, you know, at a place that they can compete at the highest level. You know, you look at the draft picks that we've got out there, the type of graduates, all of that stuff matters. But, you know, having game day here, I don't think that's going to sway one way or the other. I think guys are going to come here because of the consistency in what we've done as a program.
Do you have any problems with this not being a true ACC game?
Not being a true ACC game? No. You know, I got asked the question. Somebody asked me a question. I'm so-called against Notre Dame. I got asked a question by a media guy. I don't even know where I was now. It might have been at ACC meetings. Where was it? Yeah, I mean, you asked me a question. I just answered it. And the guy asked me a question of whether I thought they should be, that Notre Dame should be in a conference. And I said, yeah, I do. I mean, I don't, and the next thing, the headline is, Coach Swinney has come out and, no, I could care less what Notre Dame does. I really could care less. My concern is Clemson and the things that I control. I don't care one iota what Notre Dame does. That's their business. But ask me the question, well, my opinion, yeah, I think they should have to play, you know, 13 games. I mean, to me, it's like I feel not just them, the same thing with the Big 12. I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's equitable. I can't do anything about it, so I ain't worried about it. I could care less. But you asked me the question, I answered it. And next thing I know, I'm national news. You know why? Because they're Notre Dame. Somebody mentioned Notre Dame. And somebody mentioned that about Iowa or Iowa Wesleyan or whatever, nobody would care. But Notre Dame, man, I'm all over the news like I've got some agenda. I ain't got no agenda. I don't care what they do. Hey, to each his own. I'm worried about Clemson. But it's like the NFL. I mean, if you got, how many, there are 32 teams? 32 NFL teams? Okay, well, if 27 of them have to play 16 games, and then the other 5 play 15 games, well, that doesn't seem right to me. You know, that's the way it is. And I don't really focus on that. I don't lose 1 second of sleep on that. I'm worried about winning the games that we have at Clemson, and because that's what matters to me. But when somebody asks me the question, do I think that it's fair that these teams only play 12? No, I don't. I mean, I don't. I think that makes no sense to me.
But for Clemson, should this count as an ACC game, in your opinion?
No, not until they join the conference. I think eventually they will join a conference. Hopefully it's our conference, but again, I have no idea. I mean, it shouldn't count because they're not in the conference. They're independent.
Not worried about offending the folks at Iowa or Iowa Wesleyan.
No. I'm sure I've offended somebody. No.
National.
Yeah. We'll get some regional tweets on that.
Dabo, you had some good defenses back in 2010, 2009. Is there a difference in the way this defense now carries itself, its mentality, how it views challenges like the one Saturday?
Again, just have grown up. They've just more experience. You know, when we were, 9 and 10, we were just kind of getting started. Most of those guys didn't come here for me to be their head coach, but we just kind of started instilling our program and just who we are and the way we do things and why we do things this way, and then recruiting, guys to kind of fit what we need to do. But obviously in 2011 was the one year that we weren't as good on defense, but, man, we were really, really young. You know, we were very talented, but just really, really young, and we got exposed. Just that simple. We had some issues that we needed to kind of get corrected and things like that. But guys grew up, and now we've just kind of recruited the right way. Our staff does a tremendous job, and our guys have bought into how you got to prepare and how you got to practice, to be good on defense consistently. And as I said, coming into this year, I mean, our defense is kind of right where I thought they'd be. I didn't think that we would have a big drop-off if we could stay healthy with our first group. And that's kind of how it's played out. You know, we're just, as y'all know, we're just really young and inexperienced behind those guys. And, you know, that's why getting some guys some playing time here and there is huge for us, because somewhere along the line as we go through the course of the season, some of those guys right now that nobody's talking about, nobody's asked me about, some of those guys somewhere are going to have to step up for us. And by November, we're going to be talking about some of these guys that right now aren't even on the radar, because that's just the way it is. You're getting ready to play 9 games in a row, and we're going to need some of those young guys to grow up.
Anything else?
Coach, I got one question. There's reports going around that the reason the Pope left the country yesterday, he couldn't find tickets to the game.
Yeah, well, that's probably true, because that's kind of been my response. I've had a couple people, I need tickets. I say, I couldn't get Jesus tickets. So, and that's the truth. This is a tough ticket out there, but I do think that's a low blow. Them bringing, I mean, I'm sitting there, I'm going, are you kidding me? That Pope's never been here, and I don't know how long it's been since the Pope's come. And I don't know, it's been forever since we've played Notre Dame, and they done fired everybody up and took him all around the country, and you know, it's been actually been pretty special, you know, kind of watching that and following that. And the one church in New York that he went to, what's that church, Kath? Do you know? St. Patrick's Cathedral. We actually had a chance to, last December, we actually had a chance to go and tour that, and it was all under, it was just scaffolding. And by the way, if you ever want to go in a business in New York, go in the scaffolding business, okay? Because you always have a job. That's, you know, I'm not a big New York guy. I mean, 2 days, and I got to get back and see some trees and you know, sit on the back porch. But every year I go to New York, there's scaffolding, and they just move it across the street. Then there's a project over there, and then they move it over here. There's scaffolding everywhere, but this cathedral was amazing. I mean, just amazing. And so it was kind of neat to see the Pope on TV and that church having been restored. What a great moment that was for you know, our country and for the Pope. It seemed like he had a great experience. I do think he needs to upgrade the Pope mobile, though. Need a little more swag. And we need to upgrade there. All right.
Real quick, after practice yesterday, how did Jake from Morgan look, and what is Dan Rogers' status? Also?
Yeah, Jake looked good. Joe looked good. They moved around well yesterday, so feel good about them. Dane is still going to be in yellow today. He's better, but you know, kind of day to day. You know, we'll make a final call on him as we move through the week.
Truth to the rumor, the Friday team movie's going to be Rudy.
I don't know. You know, I'm going to go see my son play Friday night, just like I do every Friday night. And we haven't picked the movie yet, so that's usually what we do on Tuesdays nights. I usually give the selection to the seniors, and you know, they pick the movie. I have veto power once they pick it, just to make sure it's not something insane. But I don't know. I don't know what they're going to pick. Not sure. My wife and I saw The Intern. That was a great movie. Good date movie. Any of y'all looking for a date night? It was a good movie.
Coach, I just want to say I saw Kathleen's little news interview on TV just got a couple days on compliments. You